Once again, my name is Ian Reese. I'm an environmental educator at Kentucky State University, and today we're going to use our Enviroscape to look at pollution in the water. So we have a community here on the map, and this community represents a watershed. Now you're going to learn a lot more about watersheds and what that means when Ed Wilcox gives his talk, but basically a watershed is an area where all the water that rains down onto this land is going to drain to one specific point. So here in this community, if it rains, all the water is going to end up in these rivers and eventually in this lake here. And so this lake is the only source of drinking water for this community. So they're going to be getting their drinking water from this lake. They're also going to be swimming in it, maybe fishing in it if there's fish in it. So everybody's going to be using this water. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look around the map, and we're going to take a look around the map, and we're going to see if we can identify different sources of pollution. So we'll just start at the top here. We have a nice little neighborhood. We have some construction going on to the right and to the left, where they're tearing out some trees. They're going to build some more houses. And so if we think about the kind of pollution that we have, right off the bat, we'll look at the construction sites. There's going to be a lot of movement of earth. So there's going to be a lot of loose soil that is going to be released. So we're going to add some soil here. So all around these construction sites, there's going to be loose soil. Now, if we look into the residential area itself, you may think, well, it's just houses. There's not going to be so much pollution coming off from these, but people in these houses like to fertilize their lawns. So fertilizers count as a source of water pollution. So we're going to add some fertilizer to their lawn. And so all these people have to get to and from work. So while they're driving, they're going to be driving along these roads. And there's a lot of things that can come from cars that can get into the water, like oil and gas. So we're going to add some oil all along the roads across the entire map. All right, now let's shift over to this side of the map where we have a factory. And so the factory has a big parking lot that's going to collect a lot of oil and gas as well that's going to accumulate. And they also, if you look here, have a discharge pipe. So whatever they're making, their byproduct is sludge. So we're going to add some sludge to the factory. Now if we move down a little more, we see a farm here. They're plowing the fields to grow crops, and they've got some cows over here. So cows, of course, have manure that they're going to deposit all around that field. And now where the farmer is plowing the land, there's going to be, again, loose soil. And also pesticides and fertilizers to help the crops grow. All right, so now that we have established all the different possible sources of pollution, we're going to simulate a rain event. So I'm going to use my spray bottle, and we're going to watch it rain over this town. And I want you to pay special attention to the waterways so we can see where all this water is going and what may accumulate. So we'll begin the rain. It'll take a few minutes for water to accumulate and start to flow. So now that the rain is starting to collect in the creeks and the rivers, we can start to see all of that pollution coming together. All right. So the rainstorm has passed, and if we look down at the reservoir where the community gets their water, everything that was spread out across this land all ended up in the one spot where they all get their drinking water from. And so this is a big problem for anybody living in this community, and of course, we're going to want to look at ways that we can fix this problem and stop so much from going into the water supply. All right, so we've reset and we're going to do the activity again, but this time to try and stop some of those pollutants that we talked about before from entering the waterway, we've installed some best management practices that some of these you could do at home. So let's talk about the factory up here. They're still going to be polluting. But now we've added a filter to filter their waste, so hopefully it's not as dirty as it was before. Over here on the farm, the farmer has added some vegetation along the parts of his property that touch the waterways, and he's also put up a fence to keep his cows from getting into the waterway. Over here at the construction sites, we have, again, vegetation along the part of the site that touches the waterway. Over here we have a berm to try and create a bit of a retention pond to keep the water in place and keep it from running off. Over here we have a rain garden installed behind one of the houses in the neighborhood to try and catch some of those fertilizers, maybe some pet waste that's running off. And so now that we have these installed, we're going to make it rain again and we're going to see what happens to the water. So here comes the rain. All right, so the rain has ended. And if we look at our reservoir down here, the lake where all the water ends up, it's still a little dirty, but it's nowhere near as bad as the first time around. Because we've installed these best management practices, we've kept the dirty water in place for as long as we can. Some is still going to get through, that's going to happen. But if you can implement these best management practices wherever you can, it really makes a big difference in keeping everybody's water healthier and cleaner. So once again, I'm Ian Reese. You can contact me at ian.reese@kysu.edu.